Okay? So, first and foremost, things you need to know about plants. They're what we call autotrophs. Technically, they're what we call photoautotrophs. Autotrophs are organisms that can make their own energy without consuming organic matter. Okay? Without having to consume another organism, these organisms can make their own chemical energy, okay, or organic molecules.
Are there other kinds of autotrophs than plants?
Yes, there are bacteria that are classified as autotrophs, and some other prokaryotes that are classified as autotrophs. Okay? There's not just photoautotrophs either. There are some organisms that are called chemoautotrophs, which instead of sunlight use additional or excess chemicals to fuel the reactions they'll need to make their own organic molecules. So, these autotrophs are going to be the cornerstone for pretty much the entire ecosystem. You remove these autotrophs, all of the organisms like ourselves, these heterotrophs, are not going to be able to survive. Okay? So, these autotrophs are crucial to our survival and the survival of pretty much any other heterotroph on this planet. Okay? And here are all of these different types of autotrophs. You've got cyanobacteria, typically called Anabaena. You have unicellular protists. You've got these purple sulfur bacteria, multicellular algae, and then plants. All of these are capable of producing their own energy, their own organic molecules by utilizing sunlight. Okay, and then of course you've got us, the heterotrophs, which are involved in consuming said autotrophs, or in our case to a degree, also consuming other heterotrophs, which had previously consumed autotrophs for their energy. Okay? Anybody wants to start singing Lion King songs, now would be the time to do it. Okay? Alright. Was there a hand? Okay, I'm just going crazy. Alright. So, let's talk about the organelle that's going to be at the heart of the photosynthetic reactions, the chloroplasts. Again, similar to mitochondria, these organelles are going to have two membranes, and they're going to contain a couple of other structures that are crucial in assisting them with carrying out the photosynthetic processes. First and foremost, one of the big molecules, when I say big, not necessarily talking about size so much as how it matters. One of the big molecules, or the most utilized molecules by the chloroplasts, are going to be these pigment molecules called chlorophylls. These pigments are crucial in the absorption of the light that will be utilized to generate those organic molecules. You remove these pigments, you're not going to have the generation of those organic molecules. These pigments are used in the first stage of photosynthesis. There are two stages of photosynthesis, the first of which is called the light-dependent reactions, or the light reactions. And as its name implies, that's where light energy is going to be absorbed. Okay? During the second stage of the photosynthetic process, we're going to perform a particular cycle called the Calvin cycle. It takes place in the second stage of photosynthesis, which is sometimes called the light-independent reactions. Okay, but it's also more commonly called the Calvin cycle. Now, to generate organic molecules, we need a source of carbon. And the way that plants take that carbon in is through these pores on the underside of their leaves called, an individual one is called a stoma, or collectively, all of these pores together are called stomata. So the stomata acts as a pore where carbon dioxide can go in and oxygen can leave. Okay. Please make a note, it is stoma and stomata. Because we're also going to have a word that describes the fluid of the chloroplast that's called the stroma. So you've got stroma, stomata, and stoma. And that is pretty darn confusing. Now, the majority of cells that are going to have these chloroplasts in the leaf are going to be contained in a region of the leaf we term the mesophyll. Okay? So it's the interior tissue of the leaf. I have no idea what that was. It's the interior region of the leaf that contains these chloroplast-containing cells, and each mesophyll cell typically has between 30 and 40 chloroplasts. Okay? Furthermore, inside these chloroplasts, we're going to have these discs. These circular discs, they're called thylakoids. They're what contain the chlorophyll pigments. Okay? The thylakoids are where the light-dependent reactions will occur. So the light-dependent reactions occur in the thylakoid discs, which means the thylakoid discs are what contain the chlorophyll pigments, and those thylakoid discs are inside the chloroplast. And there's a hole in the bottom of the seed. Okay. Maybe you remember that song? You build on it as you go. Basically, what I'm saying is, you've got chloroplasts that are contained in cells in the mesophyll. So we have the mesophyll. Inside the mesophyll, we have cells that contain chloroplasts. Inside those chloroplasts, we have these thylakoid discs. Inside those thylakoid discs, we have chlorophyll pigments. Okay, so we're slowly working our way from the larger region of the leaf down to these smaller components inside the thylakoid discs. Also, surrounding the thylakoids is a dense fluid called the stroma. And this is predominantly where the light-independent reactions, or the Calvin cycle, takes place. So thylakoids are the site of the light-dependent reactions. The stroma is the site of the light-independent reactions. Here's what it all looks like. Okay, again, leaf, cross-section, mesophyll cell with chloroplast. Let's blow up that chloroplast. You have these stacks of thylakoid discs called granum. And then surrounding all of the granum, you have the dense fluid called the stroma. Any questions so far? This is literally just stuff that you would need to memorize. There's no application outside of that, aside from remembering that the thylakoid discs are where the light-dependent reactions occur. Yes, Lynn?
You said thylakoids are where the light-dependent reactions occur, but I think what you said right before that about the light-independent reactions.
The light-independent reactions, they're going to take place in a dense fluid called the stroma that's surrounding that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And it's kind of easy to see if you think about it too. The thylakoid discs are green, which is what gives the chloroplast their green color. So you have to have pigments there, because pigments are what absorb and transmit the light. So, of course, that's going to be where you have the light-dependent reactions, because that's what's absorbing or transmitting the light. The stroma is just the dense fluid surrounding it. It's not having an effect on absorbance or transmittance, which means the stroma isn't going to participate in the light-dependent reactions. Okay. So again, we've already talked about this, the equation, and we've also already talked about the idea, the redox reaction involved here. We're going to split water with hydrogen and oxygen. We're going to incorporate the electrons of hydrogen into the sugar molecule. Okay? So here is where everything goes. The carbon dioxide is actually split. Some of the carbon and oxygen is used to make the glucose. Some of the oxygen is used to make the water. Okay? And then water is going to reduce CO2 to make glucose. Excuse me, to make glucose. There's also going to be some additional water that's formed. And then there's going to be oxygen gas that's formed through this process. That oxygen gas will be released through the opening at the bottom of the leaf, which is called the
Stroma.
stoma. So the stoma and the stomata are the bottom of the leaf. The stroma is inside the chloroplast. I am sorry, I don't really know any easy way for you to remember the difference between those two. And it's only one letter.
R.
The R has the liquid?
R, like
The stoma-
pirates.
Yeah, the stoma is also a hole in the stomach, too. So, the stoma is also a hole in the stomach, too. So, stoma, as in stomach, I guess would be an easy way to remember it.
R is for pirates. Pirates are on the sea. So
There you go. Whatever way works for you. All right, I've got 5 minutes. We'll get to a stopping point here. And again, this also is a redox reaction, which we've actively already talked about. Okay, up here. Now, you've got the light-dependent reactions and the Calvin cycle. And guess what? Just like what we saw with cellular respiration, the light-dependent reactions are going to serve the purpose of fueling the Calvin cycle with their products. So what we're doing during the light-dependent reactions is producing what we will need to carry out the Calvin cycle. So in the light reactions, we're going to split water, we're going to release oxygen, but more importantly, splitting that water is going to form oxygen molecules, and what do you think those hydrogens are going to become?
carbohydrate.
Well, they're not going to necessarily initially become carbohydrates. Protons. So those hydrogens on the water are actually going to become protons when the water is split. So we're forming oxygen and we're forming protons. And in doing that, we're also then going to reduce another coenzyme called NADP plus to NADPH, which looks very similar to what molecule we just got done interacting with in respiration. NADH. Now here's the easy way that you can remember this. The P. NADP is used in photosynthesis, which also begins with AP. Okay? So we reduce NADP plus to NADPH, and we're going to have an excess proton, which is going to be used in the same way, bless you, as it was in cellular respiration. And finally, we're going to use a process called photophosphorylation to generate ATP from ADP. This is going to look very similar to oxidative phosphorylation. During the Calvin cycle, which takes place in the dense fluid, the stroma, we're going to use the NADPH and the ATP that we made in the light-dependent reactions, along with carbon dioxide, to perform what's known as carbon fixation and create a precursor to glucose. Okay? So, overarching view, and this is a great place to stop today. Water, these thylakoid discs, along with NADP plus and adenosine diphosphate and an inorganic phosphate, we generate oxygen, ATP, and NADPH. The ATP and the NADPH are going to fuel the Calvin cycle along with carbon dioxide. We're going to use that to perform carbon fixation, which we'll use to make our sugar. And in the process of doing that, we're going to oxidize NADPH, and we're going to use the energy in ATP, and we're going to generate NADP plus, ADP, and an inorganic phosphate. Okay? So, that's where we're going to end for today. We'll pick this up on Thursday of next week. And you'll also want to bring the next chapter after this, because if I finish this one, I'm going to start going through that as well. So good luck studying, good luck getting ready for your exam. The quiz will be posted online pretty soon after y'all leave, so check this afternoon/evening. Yes, homepage of the website.